Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hello everyone. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 2, verses 9 through 11. So we can get started. Verse number 9. Vidura uvacha prajapati pati srishtva prajasarge prajapatin kim aryabhat me brahman prabruhi avyaktamargavit. So the synonyms are Vidura uvacha, Vidura said, Prajapatihi pratihi, that is Lord Brahma, Srishtva, after creating, Praja Sarge, for the purpose of creating living beings, Prajapatin, the Prajapatis, Kim, what? Aryabhat started, me, to me. Brahman, O holy sage, Prabhuhi, tell, Avyaktamargavit, knower of that which we do not know. Translation. Vidura said, since you know of matters inconceivable to us, tell me, O holy sage, what did Brahma do to create living beings after evolving the Prajapatis, the progenitors of living beings? Purport. Significant here is the word avyakta margavit, one who knows that which is beyond our perception. To know matters beyond one's perception, one has to learn from a superior authority in the line of disciplic succession. Just to know who is our father is beyond our perception. For that, the mother is the authority. Similarly, we have to understand everything beyond our perception from the authority who actually knows. The first Avyakta Margavit, or authority, is Brahma, and the next authority in disciplic succession is Narad. Maitreya Rishi belongs to that disciplic succession, so he is also Avyakta Margavit. Anyone in the bona fide line of disciplic succession is Avyakta Margavit, a personality who knows that which is beyond ordinary perception. Now we can go to the next one. That is verse number 10. So we can read that particular verse now. Ye marichi adhyo vipra yastu swayam bhuvo manu te vai brahmana deshat tathametat abhavayan. Ye, those, marichi adhyaha, great sages headed by Marichi, Vipraha, Brahman, Yaha, tu, who, tu indeed, Swayambhuva Manu and Swayambhuva Manu, they, vai indeed, Brahmana of Lord Brahma, Adeshat by the order, Katham, how, etat, this universe, Abhavayan, evolved. Translation. Vidura inquired, how did the Prajapatis, such progenitors of living entities as Marichi and Swayambhuva Manu, create according to the instruction of Brahma, and how did they evolve this manifested universe? There's no purport, so we can go to the next one. That is the verse number 11. Swaditya kim asarjan swatantra uta karmasu ahusvit samhata sarva idam sma samkalpayan. So Sadvitya, with their wives, kim, whether, asarjan, created, swatantra, remaining independent, uta, or karmaso, in their action, ahus swith or else, samhataha, jointly, sarve, all the Prajapatis, idam, this, sma, sama, kalpayan, produced. Did they evolve the creation in conjunction with their respective wives? Or did they remain independent in their action? Or did they all jointly produce it? So we have these 3 verses, so we can get started. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutele Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hope you devotees are doing fine. And so we are continuing on today, Srimad Bhagavatam, verses 9 through 11 that we just read. And just to give a little bit of background for these verses, we know that like in the 3rd canto, chapter 17th through 19, there was this pastimes of Lord Varaha, where there was the battle between the the Lord Boar and also Hiranyaksha, and then the killing of Hiranyaksha was very nicely described in that chapter. And so now we are on chapter 20, in the beginning of chapter 20, that is 9 through 10. And in these verses, Vidura is asking Maitreya Rishi about Brahma's creation. How did Brahma's details about Brahma's creation? And as we know that Vidura is a very great devotee of the Lord, and that he at one point gave up the company of his elder brother because the elder brother offended Krishna. Vidura, we know, is the son of Vyasadeva, and he's very dedicated to Krishna. And he also, went to like a lot of tirthas, and he met Maitreya Rishi at Haridwar. And he was very attached to Krishna's devotees. So we see that he's asking, over here, he's asking Maitreya Rishi the question about the Lord's creation, particularly about the Prajapatis. How did they further create progeny, and how did the creation come into being? So these are all questions that Vidura had. And Vidura previously, of course, had heard about Lord Viraha and, in very blissful mood. And now he's interested in the aspect of creation. And so these are just questions, basically, that he is asking Maitreya Rishi, and they will be answered later. But what Prabhupada really actually focuses on, the purport of 9, is the word avyakta margavit. Avyakta margavit. That is what Prabhupada is really stressing, in this. And he says, one who knows which is beyond our perception. So what we cannot know, that that person knows that, so that they can guide us. And in this case, of course, it's Maitreya Rishi who is referred to as he's avyakta margavit, that is, he knows which is beyond our perception. And in the purport, very beautifully, Srila Prabhupada has said that you have to learn from a person who is in disciplic succession and who is a superior authority than you. And like, for example, he says that the first avyakta margavit or authority is Brahma, he says, Brahma. And then you have Narad Muni, and then Maitreya Rishi, who's also belonging to that disciplic succession. And he then goes on to says that anyone in the bona fide line of disciplic succession is avyakta margavit. So anybody who is in this succession can guide us. So I was just immediately when I read this, it was just struck me that Ishopanishad introduction actually struck me, something that Prabhupada had very beautifully explained. And this was also his lecture in 1969 in Conway Hall in London, England. So, he says that now why can't we just read our books, or why can't we just, learn here and there? And, why can't we be, just learn on our own? Why do we have to go to disciplic succession? And he says, Prabhupada says that actually the Vedas are the original knowledge, but we conditioned souls, like, when we have four defects, he explains, and I'm going to just quickly go over those four defects and what he's explaining here. The first defect is that we all commit mistakes. No matter how much we try, every day we commit some mistake or the other, right? And he even gives the examples of Mahatma Gandhi, who was such a big leader of the country, and liberating, from British rule and all that. But even he committed mistakes, because last stage in his life, yeah, his assistant had warned him, don't go to Delhi because it's not safe there. But he went there and then he got killed. So, but that is what a conditioned soul, is like the conditioned soul does make mistakes. Another thing is we are all under illusion, we are under the grip of Maya. And so we think that this particular body is all that there is. And it's very easy because even as devotees, we understand it. But yet in our daily dealings, we do not really behave like that, that we have something beyond this body. And then the third thing is cheating propensity. Like everybody likes to be considered that they are very knowledgeable or intelligent and so on. But the thing is, we really do not even understand what our true position is. We can say, we can write books, we can do this, but we really don't know, or even if we understand a little, we do not totally believe who we are. Otherwise, we would be behaving in a totally different way. And lastly, Prabhupada mentions that our senses are imperfect, that, we know we have eyes, but Prabhupada asks, can we see God? Can you show me God? The thing is that even when the room is dark, as Prabhupada mentions, we cannot even see ourselves. And so what can we see any other? So with all these imperfect senses, we are apt to make mistakes, and we are illusioned, and we're cheating propensity. Our senses are not perfect. Then we cannot really imagine what perfect knowledge is like. And so we have to rely on, what Prabhupada calls avyakta marg, that is disciplic succession. And the knowledge comes, often from Vedas, and the Vedas, they come from the spiritual world. They are actually knowledge from Lord Krishna, and we get it through disciplic succession. And it is knowledge that is heard from by hearing. So that is why Prabhupada is actually explaining to us why it is so important for us to go through disciplic succession, and not just, try to reinvent things on our own, or try to understand something which is beyond our sense perception. Now, Prabhupada also gives a very beautiful a good example of a mother, how a mother, through the mother, you can come to know what the father is, who the father is. So now we have this modern technology, DNA mapping, where you could go know through DNA mapping. But say you did not know who your father is, would you go to the whole world and now go DNA mapping over these billions of people? I mean, who would you go? It would be like a needle in the haystack. It's very impractical. So the best way, and the easiest and the fastest and the most accurate way, is through the mother. And that is how, because the mother is the authority. So we are going to the mother. So that will make life much easier for us. So there is a story, actually, a very interesting story. It's from Chandogya Upanishad. And this is the story of Satyakam Jabala. And Gautam Rishi, he was a very renowned Rishi, in the Vedic sages we know. And he had many students, in the forest, whom he used to train and teach. And one day, young boy came. His name was Satyakam, and he explained to the rishi that he wanted to study and practice brahmacharya. And so as was the at that time, they used to ask for please, when somebody says, please accept me for your as your disciple, they used to sometimes the gurus used to say, okay, what gotra, what is your ancestry, what is your lineage? And the boy says, I do not know. I asked my mother, but she said that even she is not very sure of who my father is. Actually, the mother was a prostitute, so she herself was not sure. So that is what she told the boy. She said, I'm not sure who your father is, but I'm Jabla and your name is Satyakam. So you just call yourself Satyakam Jabla. So that's what the boy told the rishi. And the rishi was very pleased because he said that you've told me the truth, because essentially whatever your mother said is the truth. And so you are a Brahman, basically, because Brahmins always tell the truth. And I will initiate you in brahmacharya because you did not deviate from the truth. So that is how important, like, authority is. In this case, authority of the mother. Even the rishi understood that, okay, this is the authority of the mother, and so it has to be accepted. So this whole thing was this whole, especially verse number 9, is talking about a vyakta margavit, that is learning through the authority. And that is why also, we also go Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Milantam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. That is, I'm offering my obeisances, to respectful obeisances to the spiritual master who has opened my eyes, which was in ignorance, and then he has ignited knowledge. So that is why we always rely on the disciplic succession, and we should also always rely on disciplic succession. And different religions actually, emphasize this. Like Prabhupada also says that for perfect knowledge, we have to approach a guru. In one of the conversations with Dr. Thaudam Singh, he says that one may try to learn books at home, but we can learn better when we go to the college and goes to a professor. Similarly, when we go to a bona fide guru, we can get more accurate knowledge. And otherwise, it's like the blind leading the blind. You are falling in the ditch, and we are free to speculate, and we are, just looking at theories, and it's not really helping us much in any way. So the crux of the matter is, it's like the blind man, the story of the blind man and the elephant. Yeah, how the blind men go and then they touch this elephant, and different parts of the elephants they touch, and they think they have this whole elephant, but actually they have just one part, maybe at best. So if we have to get the whole picture, we have to go through the disciplic succession. And what can we really, I mean, I'm just giving some examples. We all know what we learn from disciplic successions, because most of us, if not all, are devotees here. So we all know the value of what we learn, through disciplic succession. So I was just now referring to this Back to Godhead magazine. I subscribed to it, and the July-August version just came. And so I was reading, and then I said, okay, I'll just use a small part of it to, for my presentation. Like, for example, in this magazine, there's a question and answer section. And it said over there, somebody may have asked, or it's just a question, is there any practical use for knowing what about the soul? Is it just that, okay, you have to know, why is it so, why are we so dependent on that type of knowledge that we have to know what the soul is practically in our day-to-day life? And it's said over here that knowledge of the soul immediately answers the question, who am I? And then very beautifully it is read over here that, sometimes children, they will go to like emulate a what do you call, your cartoon character, they will emulate. Or you have a group of teenagers and they may emulate a movie hero. Um, or a youth, they might copy a villainous character. And actually what is happening is that is not themselves, they are trying to copy someone. And then there's a quote given by Aldous Huxley. It is said, "It is because we do not know who we are that we behave in generally silly and often insane and sometimes criminal ways that are so characteristically human." So why do we all try to like, and we behave as though we are in this material world and we are this material body. We do not think that much about our spiritual body. Why is it? Because what happens is that life seems more exciting and adventurous, and we think that the material life is more adventurous. But once the injury, the disease, and the destruction, all the destruction of the body comes about, then we know that it's really, truly an illusion. Everything is an illusion. And but once we identify with the blissful soul, then it's a different matter altogether. So such knowledge we can only get like through disciplic succession. I think sometimes as devotees, two things happen. One thing is we take it for granted. We think, oh, this knowledge is so simple, but actually, if you go to think about it, even if you notice, even today, the whole day today also, if you just live on that platform, you'll find it difficult to live because you will come sometimes to the bodily platform. If something happens, you'll get upset. If something happens, it happens because we are conditioned. And but when we have the knowledge, at least we are aware, and we can do course correction, when we have to, at least try. And then again, in this magazine, there's another interview by Srila Prabhupada, and he's actually speaking. He's speaking to some Christian, like fathers and Christian scholars and priests. And of course, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but he does talk about the Vedas, and he says, Vedanta Sutra Janmadi Asya Yata, that is, everything is an emanation from God. And in the Bible also, it is said that everything that has been made comes from God. And then there's a father, I think Fransad, who asks him how old are the Vedic scriptures, how old they are. He asks Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says that they have existed from before creation, actually. Even before creation, you cannot find the beginning of the Vedas. If you could find out when creation began, then before that, the Vedas were already there. It is such old knowledge that even we cannot actually fathom how old this knowledge is and how accurate this knowledge is. And I think we are pretty blessed that we are in this line of disciplic succession, and we have this knowledge so readily available to us. Otherwise, normally it's very difficult to get this knowledge. So I'm going to tell you like another a short story as to why is it important that we focus on the disciplic succession, why we are even hearing these Srimad Bhagavatam classes, why we are even reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's a very simple story. There was a professor, and he was a professor of English grammar. And once he got into a boat, with the boatman, and he was very proud. And he asked the boatman, "Have you studied the science of grammar?" And the boatman said, "No, I haven't." So grammar professor said, "Then you have wasted half your life," because for the professor, everything was this grammar. And the boatsman was pretty upset, but he didn't say anything, he was very cool. And then there was a storm. There was a big, huge storm, and they sailed across the water. And then the boat got, suddenly caught in this water, and it just could not get out of it. And it looked like it's going to capsize. And then he asked the professor, "Professor, do you know how to swim?" And the professor says, oh, no, no, I never bothered with those kind of things. I never wasted my time in, learning swimming. Then the boatman told him, well, this boat is going to swim, in this tidal wave of this particular whirlpool. It is you who have wasted the other half of your life by not learning how to swim, because now you're about to drown. And it's interesting because I remember a close relative, and they, when they, I was telling them, please take at least some time for spirituality, at least some, they were very busy in their career and family life and everything. Take some time, I said. And this is said, no, no, I don't have time. When I'm old, then we'll think about it. And that's the way the many people think. And this particular story, actually, it is a story by Rumi. Many of you must have heard of Rumi. And in his book, Masnavi, he writes this story, and he says that the professor actually was filled with pride, that he's so intellectually superior and everything. And, and his life actually now was depending upon his ability to swim, but he had not learned the art. And so most of this world, the people, if you think, they're in the same boat, because what happens is the life gets spent in physical goals, in intellectual goals, and spirituality, there is no time. But then when death comes upon, when death stares at the face, or suddenly we are faced with a mortality, then there's like panic going all around. And then we start fearing our end. But those who have spent some time, in delving deep into spiritual subjects, doing spiritual practices like chanting, like we are doing, we don't have much to fear. We can be calm and we can be fearless, because we this is drilled into us, the body consciousness, and that you are something beyond the body. And so especially those people who learn the spirituality very early in life, it's really very fortunate, actually, so that because they get like ample practice for this type of thing. So that is why, to understand spiritual subjects from the right source, that is avyakta margavit, is so important. And why from the right source? The right source is because we have now discussed it at great length, that why the right source. But if you go to see, we are what our company is, really. If we are in company with an avyakta margavit, our life is blessed, because we get everything that we are. In some places, actually, what they do is that they have like this poor quality rose, and they have this really good quality rose, and they'll grow it side by side so that cross pollination can happen, and at least you'll get a better quality rose than the poor quality rose. So we are like that. If we are in contact with a superior authority, then we ourselves rise to that. But if we are in the company of athletes, okay, we can become athlete. If we are in the company of thieves, then we become thieves. So if we are in company of avyakta margavit, then we are forced to also gain from that. So that is why it is so very important to actually have this a good association, and particularly avyakta margavit. And of course, these are just three questions that Vidura has, which is about Brahma creating living beings after evolving the Prajapatis. And Brahma's asking, Vidura's asking Maitreya Rishi. And then the second was, how did the Prajapatis create according to the instruction of Brahma, and how did they evolve this manifested universe? And of course, the answers are not here as yet. Actually, Brahma, as we know, he came from the navel, or he himself was like, he didn't really have a mother as such, right? Because he came from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, from the lotus flower, and that's why he's called the Swayambhu, or self-born. Um, so is it like Prajapatis, they are creating this world? How are they creating? Like Brahma came out that way. Now the Prajapatis are here. How did they create the world? And then the third question was, did they actually need their wives, or it was like independently, like Brahma didn't like need their wife or anything, or is it like independently they created, or they all jointly produce it? So these are just questions. These three verses are just questions that Vidura is asking Maitreya. And of course, we focused on Srila Prabhupada's purport today, which is getting knowledge from Avyakta Margvit. And so that's all that I have today. If does anybody have any comments or questions or additions, please feel free.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. I don't have anything special, Mataji. I mean, specific. I mean to say. So, but yeah, very. Thank you so much for highlighting the importance of hearing. I mean, getting the knowledge in the disciplic succession, right? So, I mean, a lot of times, I mean, still even after getting it, we try to use our limited intelligence and try to fix those. I mean, try to understand those concepts, right? I mean, something beyond our senses within our framework of mind, right? So we get into trouble.
Yeah, I know. That is, it's so easy, Prabhu, to know that we are hearing. But the thing is, we are not following everything, right? 100%. So, yeah, we are trying to use our senses. But yeah, yes, Prabhu, it's a nice comment that we have to focus on disciplic succession teachings. Yeah. Anybody else?
I've always liked the analogies and the stories you bring, Mataji, historical and otherwise too.
Thank you.
But this time, one thing that stood out was, how you talked about, purification. It's almost like purification through association.
Yes.
And, a question when it's asked Maharaj, how do we become that? So he also often says that the how question is answered through Sangha, Sadhu Sangha.
Uh-huh.
And you had this analogy of a rose, how a good quality and a bad quality are planted together, and how there is cross pollination. And so
Uh-huh.
therefore, this, yes, and we need different levels of association. One is the superior to, like a guru sishya, which was your focus,
Uh-huh.
but also we can learn, and we get purified from our peer interactions too. I mean, I'm just projecting it from that point, but yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Yes, Mataji, that's a very beautiful point, that even from our peers, we have to get, peer association. That's also very valuable. That's true, Mataji. Thank you very much for your comment. Anybody else? If not, we can stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.